Damascus is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, and it is marked to be disintegrated, transformed into a ruinous heap overnight. For 4,000 years, Damascus saw the rise and fall of Babylon, of Rome, of the Byzantines, and of the Ottomans. It was conquered dozens of times, sacked, burned, but it never ceased to exist. It is a monument to human survival, an eyewitness to all civilized history. But the Bible makes a terrifying claim that has never been fulfilled in history, which means it is yet to come. And when it comes, it will be the end of an era. The prophet Isaiah, in chapter 17, is surgical and brutal. Behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The text does not say it will be occupied. It does not say it will change governments. It says it will cease to be a city. It will be wiped off the map, disintegrated. Many military experts, intelligence analysts, and theologians believe that this specific prophecy is the trigger, the initial domino, for World War III. Today, Syria is not just a country in civil war. It is the most dangerous place on earth. It is the tight chessboard where Russia, Iran, Turkey, the United States, and Israel point their most lethal weapons at each other, waiting to see who blinks first. We are going to deeply investigate why Damascus is the inevitable target. We will dive into the details of the original Hebrew text to understand if this destruction described by Isaiah is conventional, or if he saw, 2,700 years ago, the mushroom cloud of a nuclear explosion. We are going to dismantle the theory of skeptics who say that this already happened in the past, and prove with history that the prophecy is still pending. And we will connect the dots between the prophecy of Isaiah 17 and the famous invasion of Gog and Magog. The question that the intelligence services of Mossad and the CIA are asking is the same as the Bible's. What would make Israel, or a superpower, wipe a historic capital off the map in a matter of hours? The answer may lie in the underground missile silos that are already on high alert right now. Brace yourself. The Doomsday clock is not in New York, London, or Moscow. It is in Syria. Therefore, stay with me until the end of this video. The connection I will make in the conclusion between the fall of Damascus and the timeline of the rapture of the church is something you need to hear before the headlines confirm the prophecy. Before we look to the north, leave a like on this video. This signals that you are watchful and paying attention to the prophetic signs that mainstream media ignores. Chapter 1. The Historical Enigma. Why hasn't it happened yet? To understand the gravity of what is to come, we must first clear the ground of false interpretations. Many liberal scholars and skeptics look at Isaiah 17 and say, that is in the past. Isaiah was speaking of the invasion of the Assyrians in 732 BC. Prophecy fulfilled. End of story. Here's that true. Let's examine the historical facts with a magnifying glass. It is true that the Assyrian king Tiglath-Pileser III attacked Damascus. The Bible records this in 2 Kings 16. King Ahaz of Judah was afraid of the alliance between Syria and the northern kingdom of Israel and asked the Assyrians for help. The Assyrians came, killed King Rezin of Damascus, and deported many inhabitants to the city of Kir. Was there destruction? Yes. Was there death? Yes. But did Damascus cease to be a city? Absolutely not. Historical records show that, shortly after the Assyrian conquest, Damascus continued to be a vital administrative center. It flourished under the Babylonians. It became a glorious metropolis under the Greeks and Romans. It was on the streets of Damascus, on the famous street which is called Straight, that the Apostle Paul recovered his sight hundreds of years after Isaiah's prophecy. If the prophecy had been fulfilled in 732 BC, Paul could not have gone to Damascus, because it would be an uninhabitable, ruinous heap. The continuous survival of Damascus is the biggest thorn in the side of skeptics. Compare this to Babylon. Isaiah 13 said that Babylon would be destroyed and it shall never be inhabited. Today you go to Iraq and see the ruins of Babylon. It is an archaeological site. No one lives there. The prophecy was fulfilled literally. Compare it with Nineveh. The prophet Nahum said it would be buried. And for 2,500 years no one knew where Nineveh was, until it was unearthed in the 19th century, prophecy fulfilled. But Damascus today has more than 2 million inhabitants. It has chaotic traffic, universities, mosques and markets. It is the oldest continuously inhabited city on the planet. This forces us to an undeniable logical conclusion. The total literal and final fulfillment of Isaiah 17 verse 1, which says, "Taken away from being a city," is a future event. And if it is future, what could cause such devastation that would prevent the rebuilding of such a resilient city? In the past, when a city was burned, people would return and build upon the ashes. That is why archaeologists find tells, layers of cities built one over the other. For a city to cease to be a city forever, the soil needs to become uninhabitable. The contamination must be permanent. We are talking about a type of destruction that Isaiah saw in a vision, but that humanity only learned how to create in 1945 in the New Mexico desert and in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Chapter 2, The Anatomy of Chaos, Dissecting the Hebrew Text. Let's dive into the exact words the prophet used. Behold, Damascus is taken away. The Hebrew word used here suggests a violent removal, like someone tearing a plant out by its roots. And it shall be a ruinous heap. The Hebrew term is I ruin. This expression is rare and strong. It describes debris, twisted rubble, something that has collapsed upon itself. These are not just burned houses, it is pulverized infrastructure. But the most terrifying detail is in verse 14, where Isaiah gives us the timeline of the destruction. And behold, at eveningtide trouble, and before the morning he is not. This describes an overnight destruction, from dusk to dawn. In the ancient world, destroying a fortified city took months of siege. Jerusalem was besieged by the Babylonians for 18 months. Tyre was besieged by Alexander the Great for 7 months. How does a city the size of Damascus disappear in less than 12 hours? In ancient times, this would require direct divine intervention, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Today, this is a standard military capability. A nuclear strike, or a saturation bombing with hypersonic missiles, lasts minutes. The radioactive or chemical fallout lasts all night. And by morning, there is no life left. Isaiah describes the trouble, in Hebrew, bula, sudden terror, at eveningtide. Imagine the scene. The sirens blare. The anti-aircraft defense system tries to intercept, but fails. The sky lights up not with the sun, but with the flash of detonation. And the prophet adds another crucial detail in the following verses. He says that the fate of Damascus is linked to the fate of Ephraim, northern Israel, and the glory of Jacob. Verse 4. And in that day it shall come to pass that the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. This is vital to our geopolitical understanding. The destruction of Damascus does not happen in a vacuum. It is not an accident. It happens in the context of a war where Israel is also suffering greatly. The glory of Jacob made thin, and the fatness waxing lean, indicate extreme weakness. Perhaps missiles have fallen on Tel Aviv or Haifa. Perhaps the Israeli economy has collapsed due to the war. This gives us the tactical scenario. Israel does not attack Damascus on a whim. Israel attacks Damascus as a desperate response to an existential threat. It is the scenario of mutually assured destruction on a regional scale. Chapter 3. The Chessboard of Death. Why now? Why would Damascus be the target today? Why not Cairo or Beirut or Amman? To understand this, we need to look at current military intelligence maps. Damascus has become the beating heart of Iran's imperialist project. The Iranian regime has a stated goal, the annihilation of Israel. But Iran is far away. They cannot invade Israel directly without crossing Iraq and Jordan. So they use the Ring of Fire strategy, surrounding Israel with proxy militias. Hezbollah in Lebanon to the north, Hamas in Gaza to the south, Shiite militias in Syria to the northeast. And where is the command center of that ring? Damascus. Damascus International Airport is today the receiving point for daily cargo shipments coming from Tehran. They bring precision kits to transform dumb rockets into GPS-guided missiles. They bring suicide drones. They bring air defense systems. Israel has been watching this. In recent years, the Israeli Air Force has carried out hundreds of airstrikes in Syria. They call this the Mabam, campaign between wars. They bomb a warehouse here, a convoy there. But Isaiah's prophecy suggests that a day will come when the Mabam will not be enough. Imagine the following scenario, which is openly discussed in war games by American and Israeli think tanks. Hezbollah launches a massive attack, not 100 rockets, but 3,000 missiles a day raining down on Israel. The Iron Dome system runs out of ammunition or is overwhelmed. Precision missiles begin to hit strategic targets. The Hadera power plant, the Haifa chemical complex, Ben Gurion airport, and the ultimate nightmare, the Domino nuclear reactor. Israel realizes it is about to be invaded or destroyed. At that moment, conventional rules end. Israel possesses an unofficial military doctrine, never publicly confirmed but known by all espionage services, the Samson option. Just as Samson brought the temple down on his own head to kill his enemies, Israel has the capacity to launch a devastating nuclear strike if it feels the state is about to fall. Israel's Jericho 3 missiles have the range to hit anywhere in the Middle East. If the Israeli command determines that the order for the final attack came from Damascus, or that Damascus is the logistical base sustaining Israel's death, they press the button. And the prophecy of Isaiah 17 becomes CNN's headline in a matter of minutes. Besides the nuclear option, there is the issue of chemical weapons. Syria historically possesses one of the largest chemical weapons stockpiles in the world, including sarin and mustard gas. Although they promise to destroy them, Western intelligence believes they still have hidden reserves. If a conventional bombing hits those depots during the night and the wind blows over the city, the very toxic cloud created by the Syrians could kill the population of Damascus before the morning. Whether Israeli nuclear or Syrian chemical, the result is the same. Me, I ruin, a ruinous heap. Chapter 4. The Domino Effect, Gog and Magog. Now, let's connect point A to point B. What happens the day after the destruction of Damascus? The world is not just going to issue a note of condemnation. The Islamic world will explode in fury. Russia, which has invested billions in Syria to keep Assad in power and maintain its naval bases in the Mediterranean, will feel personally attacked. The destruction of Damascus is a humiliation for Vladimir Putin or whoever is in command of Russia. It means that Russian protection has failed, and this is where we enter Ezekiel 38 and 39. The famous prophecy of the War of Gog and Magog describes a coalition of nations coming down from the north parts to attack Israel. Who is on that list? Meshech and Tubal, regions of Turkey and Russia, Persia, Iran, Ethiopia, Sudan, Libya, Put. Many prophecy scholars have always wondered, what is the motive? Why would these nations attack all together suddenly? Ezekiel says they come to take a spoil, and also that God puts hooks into thy jaws of Gog to drag him into battle. The destruction of Damascus in Isaiah 17 is the perfect hook. If Israel destroys a historic Arab capital, Russia will have the perfect excuse, the jus ad bellum, to lead an international peacekeeping or punishment coalition against Israel. They won't come saying, we are going to destroy the Jews. They will come saying, we are going to disarm this pariah state that used weapons of mass destruction. The narrative will be perfect. Iran, ancient Persia, will join with a thirst for revenge. Turkey, which borders Syria and will be affected by the fall of Damascus, will join. Isaiah 17 is the fuse. Ezekiel 38 is the explosion. Today, all these nations already have armies positioned in Syria. Never in history prior to 2015 had Russia, Iran and Turkey had military forces operating together inside Syrian territory. Now they do. The stage is set, the pieces are in place, the armies are on the borders. All that is missing is the catalyst event. Chapter 5. The Day After, the Global and Spiritual Impact. What happens to the world when a 4,000-year-old city disappears? Economically, the global market will collapse. The price of oil will skyrocket to $200, $300 a barrel because the Middle East will be in flames. Fear will grip the great metropolises. If Damascus can be erased, Can New York be next? Can Paris? But the spiritual impact will be even greater. Isaiah 17 verse 7 says, "At that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel." The prophecy ends with a revival born of fear and reverence. In the midst of the horror, humanity will realize that technology, the UN and peace treaties cannot save them. The modern man's illusion of security will turn to smoke, along with the stones of Damascus. Many secular Jews in Israel, seeing the whole world turn against them and the armies of Gog arriving, will finally cry out to the God of their fathers. And for the church, what does this mean for you? If Isaiah 17 is the trigger for the final war that leads to the intervention of the Messiah, then the destruction of Damascus is the 2 minutes to midnight warning. It means that the times of the Gentiles are coming to a close. When you see the breaking news announcing that Damascus has fallen, know that the window of opportunity to preach the gospel is closing violently. There will not be years of warning. Remember the verse, "At eveningtide trouble, and before the morning he is not." Everything changes in one night. Conclusion. The investigation into Isaiah 17 leaves us with a sobering choice. We can ignore the signs, as the world did in the days of Noah, eating, drinking, and marrying until the flood came. We can say, "Oh, that's alarmism. There have always been wars in the Middle East." Or we can look at the facts. Look at the historical resilience of Damascus and admit that the prophecy has not yet been fulfilled. Look at the nuclear capability that exists today and did not exist 80 years ago. Look at the Russia-Iran alliance on Israel's border. The prophetic math is exact. God did not give us prophecies to scare us, but to prepare us, so that when these things begin to happen, we do not panic like the world, but lift up our heads, because our redemption draweth nigh. Damascus will fall, the Bible guarantees it. The eternal city of men will turn to dust. But there is a city that cannot be shaken, the New Jerusalem, and that is where we are heading. The question is, where is your citizenship? In a city of this world that can be disintegrated in a second, or in the unshakable kingdom? I want you to make a prophetic act of vigilance right now. If you understand that the events in Syria are God's clock, and you decide to be prepared, write in the comments, "I am watching the north." Declare that you are not sleeping spiritually. And if this deep analysis helped you connect the Bible with today's newspaper, share this video. Send it to that skeptical friend, send it to your church group. People need to know that the time is short. Keep your eyes open, your Bible open, and your lamp full of oil. May the Lord keep you and protect you in the day of trouble. Shalom.